and do this.
The Simpsons.
Welcome, everybody, to the Kids. You tried your best and you failed miserably. The lesson is never try the podcast. Yes, this is the cromulent show, the perfectly Simpsons, perfectly cromulent. This is the perfectly cromulent podcast show. It's a podcast show about podcast Simpsons. Listen, we're rusty, but we're back. New hosts in this joint. I'm Jesse. If you guys listened to the previous 43 episodes before, you will remember me, or you won't, and that's probably just as acceptable. But moving forward, I have a new co-host by my side. Not literally, because we are separated by about 3,000 miles, but we make that shit work. I'm going to introduce you to the world now. Welcome, my friend, Kristen.
Hi, everybody.
Kristen and I met through streaming, which a lot of you might know. I have done for a long time. I don't really do it anymore. She does. She's fantastic. I will vouch for her now because she won't do it for herself.
That's right.
But we're very excited. I don't know if you knew this, Kristen. The last episode to air on this feed was in April of 2020. So there were some things happening about that time. We don't really need to talk about it. March 2020 was sort of important for like the world. But we're back. So 4.5 years later, if there's anybody that still was like, holy shit, I'm still subscribed to this podcast, and what is this, a new episode after 4.5 years?
Yeah. What's happening?
Yeah, it is. Kristen and I set up a new Instagram, a new TikTok. There's a YouTube this time, and we have an email address. What the fuck? You can contact us. It's a passion project, but we're available,
We can be there for you.
We locked down all of those at Cromulent Show. So you can Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Cromulent Show. If you need to email us, I don't know why you would be like, hey, you were wrong about that Simpsons fact. And we're gonna be like, yeah, probably. That's cromulentshow@gmail.com. Super easy.
Go ahead, complain.
Yeah. We ain't even gonna fucking read them. I'm just kidding. We care. We want to be correct.
You're right. I screwed that up.
Yeah.
We'll go back and redo the whole episode.
Send it. I'll be very confused, and I'll say, So we can jump right into it, man. We're gonna sort of revive a little bit of if you liked what you heard when Greg and I had it, it's gonna be a very similar show. Kristen and I are I'm a different person than I was in April of 2020. Kristen is literally an entirely different person than Greg was in April of 2020. I guess.
Completely different person. Hard to believe, but it's true.
We're picking up right where we left off. So in the last episode 43, we're moving on here to 44. This is episode 9 of season 3. Now listen, this is going to be confusing as we go through season 3. If you are watching it on Disney Plus, this is 3.8 because free Stark Raving Dad. They took that episode out. That's the episode that has Michael Jackson in it. Bling, bling, blah, 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 blah. So that now you know. 3.9, episode 44. It's Saturdays of Thunder. It has a production code of 8F07. I never know what those mean or how they get those. I just have it, so I put it on there. It aired November 15th, 1991, which at the time of this recording, we're pretty close. This one was written by Kevin Levine and David Isaacs, who, if you're not familiar, previously wrote for MASH. So how about that?
That's an interesting fact, actually. I like that fact. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, not at all. Please interrupt so much. That's what this show is all about. This one's directed by Jim Reardon. We get a chalkboard gag of "I will not fake rabies." Thank you, Bart. That's appreciative. And we get the legs behind the head couch gag. 2 guest stars for this one. It always trips me out when I see his name under guest stars, but I guess technically that is what he was. Phil Hartman. Kristen and I shed a tear a moment ago when we were catching up and just talking about Phil and looking at pictures of what I have to assume is like a young 20s Phil Hartman.
Very slick looking.
Beautiful man.
20s.
Yeah, he's a beautiful man. And it also says that a guest star was Larry McKay as the announcer. Now, here's a fun thing of trivia for you guys. Go out and tell me who the fuck Larry McKay is, because I literally could not find anything. When you go to the Simpsons wiki, it has it highlighted, and then you go to it and it's just like, this is where you would put a page if you had something about Larry McKay. Regular Wikipedia, same. The internet knows nothing about that. There are Larry McKays, but I'm almost positive I never found this Larry McKay. So why he's listed under guest stars, I don't really know. But he is, and here we are. So that's
Larry.
yeah, exactly. Congrats, Larry, on your goddamn guest appearance. He's got just as many hits on Wikipedia as I do. So we're gonna start this episode out with Homer sitting on the couch with Maggie watching a show called I Can't Believe They Invented It. A few of the inventions that roll across the screen are the foam dome. We've all seen this. This is just, your classic beer cap, I would have called it. It's a dome cap with 2 cans of beer on either side and a long straw, which, listen, has anybody ever drank beer from a straw? It just all turns into foam. It's a terrible.
Not good.
You got maybe some other type of soft drink, not beer. So the foam dome, the jet walker, which it's
I love the jet walker.
It's like a walker, and there's a little old lady on it, and it's jet powered.
That's hopefully me one day with my jet walker.
And Mr. Sugar Cube, which I love that the lady dumps like 5 pounds of sugar and it gets like 8 sugar cubes. And then Homer's is shitting out just like these sort of brownish, oblong, lumpy sugar cubes. And he said, that baby saved our lives, or that baby changed our lives, as he pulls the deformed sugar cubes out with like the tiny tongs, as if Homer wouldn't use his bare hands to grab.
Right. Delicate stuff there.
And like, very obviously, Troy McClure is the host of I Can't Believe They Invented It. So again, Phil Hartman, everybody, if you don't know the story, we're not going to tell it. This isn't a goddamn true crime show, and I don't want to get into it. It's a terrible tragedy. He was beloved by just about everybody that knew him. And look the story up if you want, but it's terribly sad. And just know that any Troy McClure you get is phenomenal, and we're always going to appreciate it and love it. Okay. Now we're not sad anymore. So Troy McClure, the host, we remember him from such TV series as Buck Henderson, Union Buster, and Troy and Company's Summertime Smile Factory. And he's here to tell you about Spiffy, the 21st century stain remover. Like, as if we needed to like sell it, the space age stain remover. This is from the 21st century.
It's so exciting.
And for whatever reason, instead of being sold by like Old Gil or the RV dealer, it's being sold by Nick Riviera.
Don't you think that that's a show that like Frink would go on to sell like some like wacky invention he had made? Like, I feel like there's so many characters it could have been, but it's Dr. Nick.
Yeah. And I love that he says,
and I have here Edgar Allan Poe. The headstone of Edgar Allan Poe. Unfortunately, a century of neglect has turned this tombstone into a depressing eyesore.
So during the infomercial, Bart asks Homer for a power drill. Homer tells him where to find it, but just shrugs him off. Right as Dr. Nick is giving the price, is $39.95. He gets booed, and literally a chair gets hucked at him from across the hall. Troy ensures him that he's going to have to do better than that. Bart comes back saying that he can't find the safety glasses, and with increasing annoyance, Homer just tells him to turn his head if stuff starts flying out. And I love Bart's reaction. Check. That's it. He like, sounds good. Standard operation. Gotcha. That's when Dr. Nick tells us that he'll throw in a 4th bottle, an applicator glove, and a state of Kansas Jell-O mold for just $29.95.
I love the Jell-O mold.
With uproar.
Yeah, I love the Jell-O mold. Like, that's like, I love that. It's like because have you ever been watching one of those like infomercial things and they throw in what feels like a super random item? It's like, here's a bunch of knives, and I'll give you this new remote control, and you're like, what the. Why?
And if you guys read the new show About section, you'll know that kind of one of the angles, and something I'm always curious about, and I always ask Kristen, sometimes she'll be like, it's exactly the same, dude. But she's, like, she's from Canada, so some things are different. I'll be like, yeah, you got to watch it on Hulu. And she's like, there ain't no Hulu in Canada. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, so sometimes I'm like, what does someone who's from Canada growing up watching this as a kid, and when he's like, it's a state of Kansas Jello mold, you're like, what about like what?
Yeah, why isn't it Saskatchewan or something, you know?
And you know what's funny is you and I probably know what's great about Kansas on about the same level. No
Well, I
hate,
know
Kansas.
I know
I know you
I
got
know
good
that
barbecue, or is that in Missouri? You know what I'm saying? That Kansas
right?
City's got me all fucked up.
I know that when you go to Oz, you're not in Kansas anymore. I know that.
So we have those two facts about Kansas, and the fact that you can get 4 bottles, an applicator glove, and the Jello mold for $29.95.
Can I just quickly grab the Troy McClure like trying to pitch this extra too, and he's like, quote the Raven, what a shine.
Please, I can't believe I don't fucking have that in here. Yes,
Quote
yes.
the Raven, what a shine.
And so, of course, the crowd is just in uproar now. They're so excited. That's the best fucking deal. And one of literally, maybe not the best physical, like not this episode, maybe ever, is Homer picks up the phone and he's so excited that he can't even dial. His hands just sort of ram into the number pad and he has to hang up, gather his composure. And he's like, all right, calm down, Homer. And right as he goes
He's
to
just so
redial,
excited.
right as he goes to redial, there's a knock at the door. Marge asks him to answer it. It's Patty and Selma. Like of all the things it could have been, but she's like, be nice. And he tried. I'll give it to him. He tried. They exchange some pleasantries, and Patty and Selma go into the kitchen. They're not pleasant. Homer tries to be
No.
nice. They said something like, "Look, Patty, he's wearing pants," and whatever. They're just being classic Patty and Selma to one another. So they go in and they're hanging out with Marge in the kitchen, looking at new hairstyles. Where Patty finds the one for her. Ed Asner? No, next to him, Mary Tyler Moore, and all three of them go. I was like, what? Are they all three sexually attracted to Mary Tyler Moore? What's happening here?
I think so.
I mean, no, yeah,
She's a
why
pretty
not?
woman.
Yeah, exactly. I again, no hate here. I just was like, oh, I was confused by that. I just thought that one of the three of them was homosexual. You can be attracted to people. I get it. It just caught me off guard. Marge walks in on Homer still trying to buy things from the infomercial with an expired credit card. 1989. That says actually 2012. Like,
I love it. It's so like from that day, it's so far into the
just
future too. Like
23 years later.
no credit card would give you an expiry date like that. They just don't.
But I
do that.
also like that it was a time, it's 1991, where you might have been able to throw some fake credit card info and they're like, yeah, we're going to write it down on paper. We'll run it later. So we got it getting
Right?
sent out and you might just get it.
Right?
You
No, I
get a
agree.
bill
I
later.
agree.
But so Marge walks out. We hear the sound of a power saw in the distance. Marge asks who's using the power tools. I don't know, some guy, I guess. Bart's literally come in 3 or 4 times to ask about it, and he just said some guy, I guess. So
well, Bart is some guy technically, right? He is.
you're
He
not,
is
yeah. Just I
some
suppose
guy.
the best part is that Marge just fully accepts that answer and tells him that she's going to the salon with Patty and
She just
Selma.
moves on, right? She's just like, sure.
And not only that, she believes that there could be some guy in the garage, and she's just like, go do something with the kids. Homer acts super enthusiastic to get Marge off his case, clearly, but Lisa sees the charade, and he's like, how much of that did you see? And Lisa says all of it, and Homer says, how much? And she settles for a trip to the video store, which is called the Video Village.
Formerly the Beta Barn.
The Beta Barn. So before they go, we see Bart welding in the garage, and Homer exclaims out to him, Bart! You can't weld with such a little flame, stupid kid. You think he's going to stop him from welding at first, but he just tells him he's doing it wrong and calls him stupid and leaves.
Like, do it right or don't do it at all, you know?
Right. And then they're off to the Video Village, formerly the Beta Barn, which I like to imagine in the future became the DVD den.
Oh, God, yes.
Yes. That's where we see a McBain film playing on it. And this McBain's talking to his partner, and it's like the classic cop trope, right? He's like, well, I'm not gonna eat any of that hot link. I retire in 2 days, and I keep my body in tip top, condition. And an assassin comes from behind the counter with a
He's got a
laser
boat
pointer.
though too. The guy's got a boat too, and
Oh,
he
that's
shows
right.
McBain, and the
Live
boat's called Live
forever.
Forever.
And then an assassin comes out from behind the counter. It's like the waiter, and has a laser right on McBain. But as his partner is reaching back for the photo, takes all of the bullets. And they also do it in classic 80s style where they have like 14 camera angles. And it's like framed by a keyhole, framed by a wagon wheel, at the end of the counter, at the top of the counter. So it's just a fantastic thing. But he gets
It's like 20
killed.
shots too. Like I tried to
It
count them. Like
it truly is. It truly is. And so he clearly never made it to retirement. Mendoza's men have. Oh wait! Also, after he shoots him, there's a motorcycle behind the counter.
I have that. I have that here. I'm like, motorcycle magically appears.
Yeah, and he in classic, action movie fashion, flies out a pane glass window on the motorcycle while being fired at point blank by McBain, who misses every shot apparently.
Every shot. I'm like,
Yeah.
so I'm like, this is like reverse stormtroopers, right? Like
Yeah.
stormtroopers can't hit anything. This guy managed to kill someone, and McBain can't even wing
McBain
him.
became the stormtrooper.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be the action
stormtroopers.
hero, McBain.
I'm calling that reverse stormtroopers from now on.
Damn it, Rainier Wolfcastle. Chicago, they do nothing. So yes, they'll live forever. The movies on the shelf at the movie store include Da Da Da, Border
Mhm.
Siesta, The Bad Football, Speedboat Bloopers, Frisbee 1991, Super Jock 3, Death by Knockout, Bench Clearing Brawls, Blood on the Ice, and of course, Football's Greatest Injuries, which, Homer decides that's the one for him. Also, Maggie's looking for like, what is it, the little elf in Twinkle Land, and he's like, just get anything. Like he's
happy
done
little
already.
elves in Tinkly Winkly Town.
See,
there
I didn't
you
even
go.
write it down, and I knew I'd be in the general vicinity. My kids be watching shit that sounds like that. So we switch over to the beauty salon where Marge, Patty, and Selma are getting done up and speaking ill of Homer, as they do.
That's what they be doing.
That is when Marge begins to realize that maybe Homer is a bad father due to a magazine quiz on fatherhood quotient and a Henry Winkler quote. No, please. No.
I was gonna say, I also love the names of the magazines they're reading. It's Idle Chatter, and Peephole, like people, but
Peephole magazine. I think I'll wait for the next episode. There's a good magazine title in there too. Henry Winkler's quote is, "I don't always keep my cool like the Fonz, but my love for my kids has given me plenty of happy days."
Aww.
I'm sure that's not a real Henry Winkler quote. If it is, good for him. But between the potential fatherhood quotient test score and that quote, Marge is starting to get suspect that maybe Homer's not a great dad. It's not his suicide attempts in previous episodes or anything like that. But yeah, so we cut back to Homer watching the
choking
tape.
his children, none of that. It's not that stuff. It's the other things she's worried about.
You gotta be careful of those things. It's very important. So we're gonna cut back to Homer watching Football's Greatest Injuries about the galloping gazelle, and he gets his head nearly ripped off.
The hit looks so vicious. Like his
for 6 Pro Bowls and 2 Super Bowls, he fed on the frozen tundra until like his head is nearly ripped off.
It looks totally disjointed, like in the video. Yes. Like his head's like in his shoulder.
Well, it is Football's Greatest Injuries.
It's true.
I love that that's a totally fictional one. And then later he's going to be like, Marge, you make me miss Joe Theismann, which is really one of the most violent leg breaks you'll ever see in your life.
Right.
And so all the sisters walk in. Marge got her hair done, but it looks exactly the same. Marge never changes her hairdo. She's not allowed to.
Some hairdos are classic and last forever.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
The sisters walk in, and Homer just laughs at their new hairdo as he does. And Patty tells Selma not to listen to that Claude or whatever.
You know what? I remember, God, I'm so old. I remember when that episode came out, right? And I remember in like some magazines and like stuff like that, they had those pictures of Patty and Selma with those hairdos, and then they had like other Simpsons in other hairdos as like a fun
Oh, that is
Simpson-y
fun.
thing. You know what I mean? Like, and it was
I
like, which is your favorite Simpsons hairdo? Yeah, like it was like a fun. I
so
remembered
by
it.
the time you guys are hearing this, if you go to our Instagram for sure, I'm not sure what I know about TikTok yet. I'm an old guy, but if you go to our Instagram, our following will be full of Simpsons pages, and I need to find them. But I have like Homer in hats is one of the pages that I follow, and it just posts different pictures of Homer in hats,
Over
and one of them is just like that, what you said, but it's just them in not their regular clothes.
clothing. Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
all of their, it's all the times they were in, not just the
normal stuff.
red shirt, blue shorts, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you guys are listening to this, go check out our following on Instagram, who we're following on Instagram. There'll be tons of those fun, like alternate Simpsons pages. Do you remember for a few years when they were all of the like sad edits that were going on Instagram that were all just Simpsons song, like all Simpsons clips, like a super sad song?
Yes.
I
Yes.
was like, man, this is weird, but I just like watching this clip of Bart. Uh, so
The
Marge asks
quiz.
Homer to take the fatherhood quotient test. He's just mad that he missed the Joe Theismann leg break. Like he can't just rewind the tape. He just rented the fucking tape, dude.
For some people, there is no rewind button. It's only forward.
Yeah, right. Then hit pause. Marge asks Homer a few questions. The first one will let you know how the rest went. When Marge asks Homer to name one of his friends, let's see, Bart's friends. Well, there's the fat kid with the thing, the little wiener who's always got his hands in his pockets. They want a name, not a vague description. Okay, Hank, Hank who? Hank Jones. So far, the National Fatherhood Institute is not looking highly upon Homer. When Marge asks
No.
Homer what Bart's hobbies are, and Homer says none, he goes out into the garage to see Bart building the Soapbox Derby racer, and the two of them both realize that Bart does indeed have a hobby, because he asks, do you have a hobby? And Bart's like, I don't think so. He's like, okay, I'll see you later.
I like that part. No, that's a hobby.
Yeah, and so he breaks down crying, I'm a bad father, and you're also fat, and I'm also fat. He doesn't. Normally you would expect Homer to snap back at him, but he disagrees.
No,
He just agrees.
he's too upset by the fact that he can't even like name like his son's hero. You know, I wrote
Right.
down the questions. Like, could you? I'm not, I'm not going to seriously ask you, but could you answer these questions? Like, do
About my
you know?
kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Both my kids' heroes, Taylor Swift.
Oh well, that's
So
easy. It's not Steve
yeah,
McQueen then. Okay.
yeah.
Is there another dad that you talk to about fatherhood or about parenting?
I'm a very involved dad who, like we're a generation of men raised by our mothers. So we are a generation of men who are doing an exceptional job as fathers. I feel like I know a lot of dads that are around my age who are some of the most involved dads that I've ever known, and I'm one of them. And I talk to tons of dads about. I am part of a subreddit called Dad It, and it's just a bunch of dads giving support and answering questions for each other. And yeah, totally. Lots.
Wow. So
I would
you
say daily I talk about parenting to other dads.
oh wow. And then
Yeah.
your daughter's hobbies.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My youngest does piano. My oldest is a very good drawer.
Oh, that's
They have
good. And then
they have many. Those are their main.
you don't have to name their friends, but could you name their
Oh,
friends?
honey, yeah, all of
There
them.
you go. See, look, you passed. You passed. You got the. You
Yes.
actually. That's all. Sorry,
I'm
I
a
had to quiz you.
perfect father.
Thank you. I had to quiz you because you're a father, and here we are talking about
Nailed
fatherhood.
it.
You nailed
I'm
it.
pretty much like a great dad. So.
Apparently, according to the Father Institute, you would be one of those people we're going to see in a scene coming up soon.
Very high fatherhood quotient. Not the underwater one for reasons
No.
we'll know later.
No.
So Homer now his hands work to dial the phone, and he calls the Fatherhood Institute. They put him on hold, and that's when we get our first great song of the episode, and we hear "Cats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon, Little Boy Blue and the Man on the Moon. when you're coming home, son, I don't know. We get this classic, father son, terribly tragic and sad song that everybody
Missing out on the
probably
special
knows.
things in life and everything like that,
Right. Like we've all heard the song, and maybe we didn't realize its context, but like go listen to that song and have a cry, and then call your dad.
Like really
Um,
listen to it and have it
yeah,
break your heart, especially when
yeah,
you get to the end of the song and you're like, oh my God,
right.
just really
So
give yourself a good cry.
Homer gets his call answered finally and admits to getting a 0 on the fatherhood quotient test. So they send a paneled station wagon out to him post haste.
I love what an emergency it is too.
Yeah,
Like the
a
guy's
0.
like,
It's a
he's
4-question
so
quiz.
upset.
It's a
He's so
4-question
upset.
quiz. So Homer admits gets the 0. They're gonna send a paneled station wagon out to get him pronto. Cut out to the garage where Bart is showing off his Soapbox Derby racer to some of the other kids in the neighborhood, including Martin Prince. But Martin's being pretty smarmy about Bart's design,
But he's a jerk.
especially after Bart gives them the advice that he got from Soapbox Derby champ Ronnie Beck, which says that poorly guarded construction sites are a gold mine for supplies. Martin leaves after insulting Bart's racer once more and says that he's booked some time in the wind tunnel.
I literally wrote Martin is an ass.
Yeah. He definitely can be.
That was my
So
whole vibe. Martin is
for
an
anybody
ass.
who doesn't know, a wind tunnel is basically like a place where you would test vehicles for aerodynamics. They put a little, it's literally what it sounds like. It's a tunnel full of wind. They put a little smoke at the beginning, and it goes through and goes over your car, and you get to notice aerodynamic defects or how aerodynamic your car is. So Martin's using that for his soapbox racer.
Very involved. Very
Yes,
involved
yes.
Martin is, yeah.
Just then, the paneled station wagon finally pulls up and hauls Homer away. Goodbye, Bart. Milhouse says that, Bart, I think they're finally hauling your dad away. It's probably for the best.
I love that part. It's probably for the best.
He knows. He knows. So Homer's taken to the Fatherhood Institute and gets to see it all. The first thing he's given is a complimentary book by America's father, Bill Cosby. Very timely. Homer gushes over Cosby for a moment. They tell him at the Institute that if he wants to be a good father, he has to spend time with his son. That's easy for you to say, you preachy, egg-headed Institute guy. Homer asks him when the last time he saw his son was, and the man turns around and his son works there with him at the Institute.
I do love it when they're going through the Institute though, and it's like here's a father dad like fishing. There's the ones, well, obviously the underwater ones where they're doing school underwater for whatever reason, and like some other test guys all over the place. Like they're like, this is a real like think tank of how to best parent.
Exactly. That's so good. Here when it says like Fatherhood Institute on something, I live in the South. So it's always just like some super church heavy thing that's abortions are for sinners and stuff like that. So we don't have to get into any of that, but I'm just saying like Fatherhood Institute's like down here a lot different.
Yeah, this is more like they're scientifically researching in a deep think tank of importantness how to be a good dad.
Yeah, this one's much better. So Homer sees all that, sees the underwater, sees how it's all going, sees that this father is working with his son at the Institute. He's told by the Institute to find a common interest with his son. What son? Your son. Oh yeah. Just then the alarm goes off and a shark is attacking the boy from the underwater experiment. Dear God, not again. This has happened before.
They're in a tank.
Yeah, why is the shark in there?
Like and if it's happened before, what? Somebody was like, well, we'll just put another shark back.
Where was the shark before? I didn't see it. Did they drop it in and that was just the first response?
Maybe it's like one of those things when the alligators come up through your toilet. Like
yep, totally things
shark,
that happen.
Like, came up through the drain, like where the water circulates or something.
I hate to give a TikTok sound as a response, but dumb ways to die.
It's so true, though. It's just an accurate sound sometimes.
Yes. So Homer goes back home determined to have Bart allow him to help with the racer because he's like, oh, that's how I'll connect with him. Bart isn't Go
I
ahead.
love that he comes in when he goes in to see Bart. If you notice, he's wearing a green
The
cardigan
green
now.
jacket. Yeah, yeah, and he's
He's
rolling
like a
up the
dad now.
sleeves. Yes. Well, who wears a cardigan? Bill Cosby.
Oh yeah, that's right. I don't know why, but for some reason, Mr. Rogers was the first person that popped into my head. I think that's because
I
cardigans and Mr.
I think
Rogers,
it could either or is an acceptable. One is a far more acceptable thing. So Homer lists his. Bart's first excuse for not wanting Homer's help is that 3-time Soapbox Derby champ Ronnie Beck never needed his dad's help. Homer lists many accomplishments of his as far as things that he's built, all of which either maim or kill the things that use them, including the spice rack.
yes, yes. The
Earlier
broken
I was
spice
telling
rack.
you, yeah,
There's a squish bird and a feeder, right?
right, and then
And
Maggie's jungle
that
gym or
Gymboree
Gymboree.
thing,
Yes,
yeah. And
yeah,
she's like, it's like the slides made out of wood. The what are those like ring things that you grab?
exactly. So before we were recording, I was telling you about a guy who makes Simpson stuff. One of the
Yes.
things he makes is that like screen accurate spice rack.
Shut up.
Yeah,
That's
I'll
amazing.
send it to you. So
I need a picture. Yeah.
um eh, Bart's still unconvinced after Homer's many accomplishments listed. But Homer refers to his Cosby book, which tells him to use reverse psychology. Homer uses it on himself instead because using it on Bart doesn't really work out. But Bart agrees to allow Homer to clean some paintbrushes. So Homer's like, "Oh fuck yeah, I'm in," and thanks Bill Cosby. Thus ending our mentioning of Bill Cosby in this episode, which
Yep.
of course aged like a fine milk.
Then you know what my first thought was like, I totally forgot. I totally forgot the Bill Cosby fatherhood book. I was like,
Oh, we can't have an
100%
episode where Michael
forgot.
Jackson sings "Lisa, It's Your Birthday," but
But we can't.
we can have one that just reveres Bill Cosby several times. Let's get our shit together.
Right?
All right. One of
Right.
them
I
actually
agree.
went to prison.
I mean, and I think it'd be
Um,
kind of easy to kind of cut some of that Bill Cosby stuff out,
oh,
like
totally,
just little
totally.
tiny edits. Nobody would notice.
Bill Cosby, you saved the Simpsons. So then we get a montage of building and mostly failing. Homer drinking some paint thinners. They're both welding with. Well, they've got their masks on, but they're not down. Homer's smoking a cigar while welding. Also sets the still lit torch near some open fuel containers that are also
I love
spilled to the
that.
ground.
Yeah.
This is all taking place while the song "That's My Boy" by Bobby Goldsboro plays. Pretty
It's great.
fantastic. Just look it
It's
up. We
great.
can't play it for obvious reasons,
Just
legalities.
pretend you're hearing it now. Just
Yeah, that's
just
my
hear it in your
boy.
head. There you go.
Uh,
I was thinking about this when I was watching that scene though, like from the time that they okay, first off, the first time you see Bart welding, I was like, Homer owns like welding equipment. Like that was
oh
my
yeah.
first thought was like he owns
No, he
welding
borrowed it from
equipment.
Ned Flanders.
But then like there's a whole bookshelf, a correctly hung bookshelf. So
Of
he must not have
how-to.
hung it of how-to books.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm thinking this is what goes to my head when I'm watching these scenes. I'm like, there's a lot of how-to books.
I honestly think, and hang with me here,
Yeah.
that is because there's going to be an end of the episode callback to Homer's infomercial shopping. That is a non-mentioned call to Homer's infomercial. Like he bought those how-to books. Like, oh, that'll be
Yes.
great.
Oh,
And
yeah, I
they're
get
just
that.
up there
Yep.
with like totally uncreased spines. They were
100%.
put on the
I'm there
shelf and
with
have
you.
never been used before.
Yeah.
I'm
Learn how to.
probably reaching.
No, I'm good. I'm
Because
good
the
with
third
that.
one is like
good with
fully
that.
clearly mentioned and it's there and funny and hilarious. But
Yeah.
I
yeah.
always that's where my
No,
mind goes.
I feel like that works because you could totally see him watching one of those infomercials, like learn how to make a spice rack. Get our
Yes.
book set.
And-
Start with book number 1, work to book number 10, where you can build a Gymboree.
and
It makes sense.
Book
to me.
number 2 was never opened.
No, I'm there with you. I like it. I'm there.
So we then see Homer laying in bed with Marge, gushing over how amazing Bart is, his fat little stomach, his winning smile. He reminds me of me before the weight of the world crushed my spirit.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the next day, the Soapbox time trials, Homer and Bart roll up their racer, and the race official tells Bart that while his father isn't supposed to help him, he should have at least consulted him.
Because it's just so bad. It's
so
like
bad.
it's so bad.
He gives Bart his heat number and asks him where his helmet is. Bart tells him that helmets are for wussies. The official says, "No, you gotta
He
wear
does
one."
say
Homer,
sir. He
yeah,
is
oh yeah,
polite. He says
yeah,
sir.
for wussy, sir. The official says that he has to, and Homer tells him that this is my son, and you can't tell him what to do. Okay, I want to get out of here sometime today. Then Martin gets everybody's attention for an announcement of the revealing of his soapbox racer. What was it called, Kristen?
Honor roller.
Yes, honor roller.
Honor roller. And
Just
it has
then,
sponsor stickers on it too,
I
if you
love
didn't
it. I
notice.
love it. They were very NASA adjacent. I didn't write any of them
Yeah,
down,
I
but they
did
like,
I did write them down on another page. General Dynamics.
yeah,
Hey.
yeah. They were like
There you go.
engineery, yeah,
Yeah.
engineery for sure.
Yep.
So, um, he
I like
gets
writing down I
everybody.
like noting the Bart I carumbas too, because when Bart says it, he says, I caramba. Like he's very shocked.
We used to have a counter for something. I'm trying to remember what it was, but there was an Icaramba counter is a good one. That is definitely something we should keep track of.
Track of, right? Yeah.
So Martin grabs everybody's attention. They see on a roller. Just then Nelson rolls into the pit area smoking a cigarette. 1991. What a time. You can just have children
I love
smoking
it.
cigarettes on TV. He's told he can't do so he puts it out on his tongue.
He's like, I'm so tough.
Then he takes a look at Bart's loser mobile. I love that when he calls it that, Homer just gets to laughing and he's like, "Hey, wait!"
You know what I thought about when I saw that part? I thought, you know what, Homer does that a lot, right? Where like someone will like insult Bart or something like that, and he'll just crack up, and they'll be like, "Wait a minute."
He's never really quick to the take. Nelson refers to Little Lightning. I don't think I've even said that yet. They call their Soapbox Derby racer Little Lightning.
Little Lightning.
Nelson calls it an all-time piece of crap. He then has his rolled in, and his looks very. If you've seen Little Rascals, it looks like, I cannot remember the name of theirs, but it looks like the opponents they race against. It kind of looks like theirs. I don't know if it was modeled. I think Little Rascals movie came after this, so maybe it wasn't. I don't know. It looks very Little Rascals to me.
I likened it to like chariot racers. You know what I mean? Like
for
with
sure,
like the
with
weapons
the
coming
wheel
off
spikes.
the chariot. Yeah, the wheel
100%.
spikes and
And
stuff like
in fact,
that.
later I don't think I wrote it down, but they mention in the race, the movie Ben-Hur, like the race, and that's a chariot racing movie. So yeah. But when Nelson's car rolls up, you hear knocking in the trunk of the car. Bart and Martin, who are talking about like, it doesn't matter who wins as long as we beat this guy. But they hear the knocking in the trunk. They're like, "What's that?" And Nelson says, "You didn't hear nothing." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
And that I've words. Nelson's car is called Roadkill 2000, which I kind of like that name. So I like that he
Perfect.
made it 2000.
Yeah, it's so
like
futuristic.
Roadkill 2000. So you got
we
Little
needed
Lightning,
the 21st century in this episode for the second time.
Right? You got Little Lightning, Honor Roller, and Roadkill 2000.
I mean, there's definitely one of those that's my favorite. So yes, there's a kid hidden in Nelson's trunk, and he's just like such a bad kid. That's just like totally normal for him. Homer gives Bart a good luck, and Bart again quotes Ronnie Beck, saying that he doesn't need luck when he's got gravity on his side. Or his co-pilot, right?
Yeah, gravity is my co-pilot.
See, I try to challenge myself sometimes and don't write the quotes. Nelson is given a new switchblade by his early season cronies. I call them that because they're basically by his side in every episode for the first few seasons.
Do they have names? Do they ever get names?
They may. I like to call them early season cronies because they sort of just disappear at some point. And
we get them lackeys.
Yeah, that's perfect too. Because soon we're about to get, like Jimbo and
then your
Kearney
constants,
and,
right?
Right. And Dolph.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't get through all three of these without missing their names up here. So the three cars line up at the start. Again, Homer gives Bart the good luck. Nelson gets the new switchblade from his buddies, the cronies, the lackeys. All Martin gets is a panic attack about how high the hill actually is. Right as he asks for time to think about it, the blocks drop and he's off. Nelson again has the spikes on his rims
and a whip at this point. He's got a whip too.
And for some reason, a whip. Martin's car begins heating up in the atmosphere because it's so fast. and it crosses the line first, followed by Nelson with Bart's little lightning, never managing to even cross the line.
I was so sad for Bart when his stops. Like it doesn't even make it to the line. It like stopped right before it and just
That's like
plumps onto the ground.
I want to hear the Snoopy sad music.
Yeah. 100%. And like you can see Bart like doing the Snoopy walk too, like in your head,
Yep.
like where he just
Yep.
like the head hung down,
And then all of a
looking
sudden it turns into
down.
an Arrested Development Michael Cera thing.
But thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
It does it in my head. It totally does with him dropping his bag on the ground and
It's not
falling to
even
the ground.
really a Charlie Brown thing. I just have to say that so I don't seem like a dork for making a reference about a reference. So we then see Martin's car fail to deploy the chute. Deploy, damn you!
Yep.
After careening into a wall, it finally does. And for some reason, the Soapbox Derby racer fully engulfs in flames, including Martin, who jumps out. Luckily, a fire truck pulls up almost immediately and uses its hose to douse only the car as Martin runs away.
I love that part. Like it's like they're full on spraying the car, and there's little Martin running around.
Martin, it's not mentioned, but had to have been wearing a flame retardant suit because in the
Must
next
have
scene
been.
we're in the hospital and the only thing he's got is like the broken arm. His arm's up in a sling. Ooch, owie, owie, owie. He's just being a total baby at this point because he's Martin Prince.
Yes.
But you know he's in there. Then Dr. Hibbert tells him that he's not going to be able to use it for 6 weeks. Martin then realizes he's not going to be able to race, which like his car was just destroyed in a flaming ball. Like, don't you just give up the ghost right here? You're like, no, I'm gonna rebuild. Bart comes to visit and tells Martin that it was a cool crash and that he wishes that he could build them like him. Martin then comes up with the idea to have Bart drive his car. Bart is torn for like 3 seconds before agreeing to do it.
Yeah, I like that part because he's like, he's pretty much
There's a flash of humanity.
Yeah, like my dad will be so hurt or whatever he says. I can't remember, but he knows his dad's gonna be hurt, and he's like, "I'll do it." You know?
But your
Like, on
car's
the other
way
hand,
faster. Yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. He then has to break the news to Homer, and he doesn't take it well because he was about to pull Bart out of school for a couple weeks so they could work on the racer.
Bart
Homer
should have shut
tries-
up and let him do that anyway. Because
Right,
anytime your
right.
parents offer to pull you out of school for a
Yeah,
couple
you might
weeks,
as well just take it.
you take it. You just go, okay.
Homer tries to convince him, but Bart says that Homer taught him to win. When did I ever teach you that? Homer tries to gild him one more time, but Bart does leave. Homer sits in Little Lightning and it begins to fall apart piece by piece. My favorite
So
part about that
sad.
scene is that it
It's so
ends and he just
sad.
goes, ow. And you're like, wait, does his butt hurt or does his heart hurt? You know?
Both. It's both.
and he has a good quote here too. He says, I'll just sit here for one moment. Let me just find it. I have this whole script here. Why I didn't write down the quote that he says at the end of this great scene is beyond me because I'm bad at things. Okay, because I'm bad at things.
Okay, we can all wait for you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
my gosh, you'd think it would be easier to find. Yeah, I'm not even going to do it anymore.
That's fine.
Homer does a sad boy speech. You know, he talks
It's a
about
great speech.
Yeah,
Just,
for one measly moment, I'll sit here and remember when I had a son.
He says something about like, we were gonna do Little Lightning or what? Like he meant, like he pulls it all out. It's very maudlin, right? Like it's there.
Poor
Yeah.
sad Homer.
Yeah.
But yes, I love the "When did I ever teach you that" quote too.
Yeah,
You
it's a
taught
good
me how to
one.
win. When did I ever teach you that? So hilarious. Homer's looking out the window and he sees Bart doing time trials down the street on a roller. Lisa interrupts him and asks for a ride to the doctor's office. Homer asks why. Maybe I'm being a little anal, but barefoot season's coming up and there's a world of rusty nails out there. Lisa has set herself an appointment for a tetanus shot.
Such a good kid.
I'll take you, wait with you, worry about you. Then you'll ride home with someone who's with a faster car. This is how you get your kicks, isn't it, Lisa? So Homer is clearly hurt in this episode, which it's sad because I know what's going to happen in the next episode. Homer's going to get hurt again.
That's so true. Oh my God.
Homer drives Lisa to the doctor, and as they're driving down the street, Bart passes them in on her roller. Don't! At the doctor's office, Martin is healing well. Tell me something I don't know. But he runs into Homer, who calls him a home wrecker. Martin tells him he
Right.
has every reason to be mad, but Bart cares about you very much. And just chases him out the door.
I love how
Dr.
Dr.
Hibbert
Hibbert,
just
the Dr.
laughs.
Hibbert
Just
part.
laughs.
Yeah.
Yep.
You gave
You-
that boy the heebie-jeebies.
yeah. Gave that boy the heebie-jeebies. Then it's race day. Bart and Marge are now trying to coax Homer off the couch. He just, he's being sad. Bart even brings him the foam dome, and Homer just tells him to leave him alone.
And the foam dome was in the commercial.
Exactly.
On the infomercial show.
And
I
there's
can't
another
believe they
one. We see
made
that
that or whatever.
Homer owns another infomercial product.
Yep.
This one implicit because it was in the infomercial show at the beginning.
Yeah.
So he's bought the sugar thing for sure. He's bought the 21st century cleaner, spiffy cleaner.
Yep.
He's bought the
Foam dome.
perhaps the instruction books.
Yes.
And
The how-tos.
definitely the foam dome. So
Yeah.
we know for sure that he's bought 3 and possibly 4 items in this episode. So, and yeah. I actually have it right here. We see him after that. He's sitting on he says, "Oh, just leave me alone." And Marge tells him that, if he's going to act like this, then all this time she's defended him. Maybe now she realizes that he is a bad father. And that's when he's like, "Oh, just leave
Yeah.
me alone."
He's hurt. He's super hurt.
He's very hurt. He's then seen watching the, for some reason, televised Soapbox Derby races.
I love that part. It's like a big deal too when they show it like getting set up for the day too. It's like
these junior Al Unser Juniors.
Right? And there's like trumpets and they're like setting up big grandstands.
Yeah, it's like the Indy 500. It's definitely like very very tradition, very like this going back to the Depression. They've got graphics for it and everything. So
everything.
Homer is wearing the foam dome at this point, which again shows us that Homer really do be buying all that QVC shit.
He loves it, apparently.
He does. If he can get his fingers to work, he will buy it. So he goes to get a beer refill out of the fridge when he sees the fatherhood quotient test, and he scores perfect only after having a 1-second conversation with Ned Flanders about parenting and races off to the race. What's a proper age for a boy to start dating? Well, there's 2 trains of thought.
It's so quick. He's already gone.
I talked about parenting with Flanders. So he's at the race. We see I like that we don't even get a Homer scene first. We get Barney approaching Patty, asking if she looks
Are you really Mary Tyler Moore?
And she maces him. He screams in pain for like a second, which causes him to burp.
Right, I love that Moe's standing there consoling him for a second too.
Well,
like you
also
see Moe
because
patting his back.
And Barney says at the beginning,
"Me and my buddy were wondering."
So Moe is the guy that he was standing over there wondering it with. I also love that when he gets mazed, he like screams but burps. He hits a Barney belch, like it squeezed one out of him, and then says,
"Wow, it really is you."
It's so great. It's so great.
So then we see Martin telling Bart to steer away from the stands in case of a wreck so he could save hundreds of civilian lives. He realizes Bart isn't paying attention, so gives him a backhand.
Just like winds up and smacks him. Yeah.
Totally challenges Bart. Bart asks him what's wrong, and Bart says, "It's my dad. He's lying there on the couch, drinking a beer, staring at the TV. I've never seen him like that." We've seen Homer like that dozens of times by now. Then we look up into the stands. We see Homer is there already, a hot dog in hand, and the music that you hear playing is from the movie The Natural. Do you remember that movie?
I know
Redford.
of it. Yeah,
basically like a baseball prodigy, and he looks up in the stands, and his dad is in the stands there to watch his game, and that's the music that plays during that scene. That's the music that plays during the scene.
And Homer is like when he stands up there, it's like he's like glowing, like the sun glows around him.
The scene is literally stolen from
the movie,
from The Natural. Yep.
Yeah, got you.
So classic. It's then that Nelson comes over and doesn't tell Bart to prepare to lose the race, but to prepare to die. Bart says, "Super metal, let's rock." The race begins after Diamond Joe Quimby salutes the contestant's vigor and comments to his bodyguard about the broad in the fourth row's rack. At the start of the race,
So classy.
So classy. At the start of the race, Nelson's wheel spikes put a hole in the honor roller almost immediately. The two battle it out, going back and forth. This is when the announcer likens it to Ben-Hur.
Yes.
When Nelson puts the spikes into the honor roller, sawdust comes up. Nelson catches it, chews it up. Bart finally. Oh, we also, as they're battling, we look down to see Bart's speedometer just in time to see it peel off.
Yeah, it just comes
you're like,
off.
Oh my
the
gosh,
thing.
he's doing 200. Oh wait, never mind. The two cars go back and forth. We finally see Bart pull ahead and win. Then we see a few snapshots take place. Martin getting a Gatorade bath. Bart's family celebrating. Bart getting a kiss from the race girl. Nelson beating up his early season cronies. And Diamond Joe Quimby hitting on the previously stated broad from the fourth row. Then the trophy presentation by three-time Soapbox Derby champ Ronnie Beck, who by now we all are familiar with. Bart's mentioned him 20 times. We imagine a man. It is clearly a child who appears to be younger than Bart.
So tiny. He walks up. He's so tiny.
Ronnie thanks Bart for bringing up a bunch of great memories to Bart.
Like he hasn't
and
done
Bart does call him
decades.
sir as well. Bart goes. Bart says, "Thank you, sir." So this is the second time Bart's very respectful in this episode.
He takes Soapbox Derby racing very seriously. Apparently, Bart does.
He's got a hero for sure.
Yeah.
Bart then dedicates the win to Homer. Homer tells him, no, you earned it. And Martin chimes in, might I remind you both, I did design the racer and that the driver is essentially ballast.
See, I told you, Martin is an ass. That's all you need to know.
Yes. So Nelson comes over to congratulate Bart and tell him he can really drive. You're like, oh man, maybe they could become friends at this point. Bart says thanks, but then pulls the handshake to give Nelson a I beat you. Marge tells him not to be a bad winner, and he says that he's never won and may never win again. So he goes on.
I love that. The optimism.
And
I may
Homer
never win
joins
again.
him. I like that Homer joins him.
Yes.
And as Homer joins him, did you ever know that you're my hero? It cuts to the Fatherhood Institute where we see them all in a control room and we see Bart and Homer hugging on the big screen like it's the fucking moon landing and everybody's celebrating. And we cut to the credits.
Beautiful.
So that's the episode, man. It's really great. So in what I'm going to do for every episode, we're going to try to remember at least through season 20, because that's what this book covers. So I'll give you really quickly my references for the episode. It's the Simpsons wiki, my own memory. Springfield is the script website I use, and the Simpsons World Complete Simpsons Guide, first 20 seasons. So basically, this has a 2-page spread for every single episode for the first 20 seasons. It's basically just good quotes, some things that are like you might have missed, but it's not really like information that you couldn't get anywhere else. It's just a good gathering of stuff. But each one has a character profile or character bio for each episode. This one was for Nelson. So full name is Nelson Muntz. His occupation is a Springfield elementary school bully. Favorite pranks are hot footing, which is putting a lit match between someone's toes. Hawking freshly caught fish at cars. It says hawking. Maybe hucking is a word that you use. I don't know if hawking is maybe that's a regional colloquialism. Secrets to success: cheating. Companions: 2 weasels who carry out many of his evil whims: Jimbo, Dolph, and Kearney. So it gives you both the early guys who they call the 2 weasels: Jimbo, Dolph, and Kearney. He wears a t-shirt, shorts, and a vest with a ragged hemline. So that is Nelson Muntz, everybody. That's the end of the episode. Would you like to rate it first, or would you like me to rate it?
I'll let you go first. You go first.
Okay, I say I'm going to do 3.2. It's fine. It's a great episode. It moves along. Doesn't have like any of my most memorable moments. For a season that is rife with amazing episodes. I mean, they're all great. I have no negative comments for any episode that I can think of in this season. But it's memorable because of the cars, maybe a little bit. The songs are funny. It's not bad. It just doesn't blow you away. 3.1 is great when 4 is the max. Well, 5 is the max. But in case anybody doesn't remember, okay, so the Simpsons have 4 fingers, right? We're going to give all of our ratings 1 through 4. We're going to use decimals because it's hard to just break it down into 4. But if an episode to one of us is what we will call God tier, we will give it 5 because God and Jesus in Simpsons have 5 fingers. So that's the only time you can get 5 is, if it's God tier. So I'm going 3.1, Kristen. What do you think?
Okay, so when you first brought this episode to me, I literally was like, what? Do I remember this episode? Like, this episode in my memory bank was not one of the ones that like super stood out. And then as soon as I turned it on, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I kind of remember this, and then like I watched it and I was like, okay. And you know what? I think actually I had kind of settled on like 2.5, not quite 3. Okay. But
I might have just been generous because it was my episode.
Oh, no, wait. Talking about it with you, I kind of decided that there was some like really good stuff in it that maybe I didn't give enough credit to. You know what I mean? Like as we were talking about it, I'm like, actually, that is really, like, that's a really fun. Yeah, you sold it to me. I was like, that's actually a really funny gag. Like I was like, I really like that bit. Like well, first off, I did really like the montage, the building the car montage and stuff. And I'm a sucker for a good Simpsons montage, and I do think that one's a really good one. And then like when we were talking about the Father Institute stuff, I was like, you know what? I really like that they had this like whole like research lab.
Yeah.
Like
so
I really like the research lab.
And the end when you just see that, like, okay, it was weird that the Soapbox Derby was televised, but then that they just have a shot of Homer and Bart hugging in the control room of the Fatherhood Institute.
Yeah, like I love that part. And then I also loved like I kind of loved it when I watched it by myself, but like especially talking about it with you, I was like the callback to like when he has the foam dome from the infomercial. I was like, actually, I kind of love that they kind of bring that back around and be like,
So
look
good.
he also owns this thing. So I'm gonna up my 2.5 to 3.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a solid 3. I'm
3.0 and a 3.1 from your hosts. That's pretty good. Average of 3.05 out of 4. Not bad, guys. That's a C average. It's a good episode.
It's a pass.
It's just a tough episode to compete because that's true. This in a lot of people's opinion is the greatest season of The Simpsons.
It is a really good season.
1 through 10 are all pretty fantastic for me. I think some people think it falls off after 8. I'll take it all the way to 20 without having any major problems myself. Major problems, I said. But that's great. So we're rated up. That was a great episode. It was fun. Guys, remember to check us out on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. They're all at Cromulent Show. If you feel the need to email us, cromulentshow@gmail.com. Check Kristen out on Twitch, twitch.tv/it's Kristen A. She's Canadian, remember, so that's Kristen, KRISTEN AEH. eh?
Get it right, eh?
So thank you guys for joining us for the first one back. If it's the first you're hearing, there are 43 before it with, again, myself and Hella Greg, the previous host. He's doing other cool stuff in life. So Kristen and I have about, 770 of these to do. And who knows what they're going to keep doing in the meantime. It's almost like, well, once they cancel, we have an end in sight. When they're going to do that, who knows? But at least we've got plenty of material from here until then. So
a little bit.
If you guys are hearing this as your first one ever because you were like, holy shit, Kristen's hosting with that weirdo Jesse. Yeah, I'll check that out. If you were one of the ones that this is still in your feed from 4 years ago and you're like, oh, fuck, I never unsubscribed. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the previous 43. They're going to be like this. They're going to range anywhere from, 18 minutes to 2 hours long. We don't know. We're just going to get here. We're going to talk. We're going to love this. The episode's 24 minutes long, guys. I'm sorry that this is an hour long. Get over it. We like The Simpsons and we're going to talk about it. So I hope you guys join us for a bunch more of these. And anything you want to add, Kristen?
Have a good one, eh?
Hey, we'll see you guys on the next one. Kristen's going to take it over. And see you guys next time. Bye.